this one is a little more complicated. Okay, this is an equation, or how you would create your own function to identify the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. Okay? So if we look at the forms, once again, we'll just start with 2 points here. We'll call it h1k1 and h2k2 once again. And like I said, the x's and y's have already been assigned in your calculator, so we need a different set of letters. And the function that we're going to use on this, or the kind of the base of our function, is going to be taking the point slope form of an equation and converting it. Okay, so if we took point slope in just general terms, y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity x minus x1. If we took this equation, when we worked with the point slope form, what we did is we solved this equation for y, and that puts it into the slope-intercept form for us. So if we take this as our base equation, and let's see if we can convert it into just these two ordered pair, into h1k1, h2k2 terms. Okay, so if we did that, our y is going to stay the same, but our y1 is going to be replaced with what? The k's are the y, so k1 is equal to, now in terms of h's and k's, can we express m, the slope? We just did, right, on the last calculation. So if we take the difference of the x's, or I'm sorry, the difference of the y's, the k's, so k1 minus k2, and we divide that by the difference of the x's, h1 minus h2, and then we multiply this whole thing by x minus, and again, x1 is replaced by h1. Okay, so if we took this whole calculation here and we solved for y, we would have this written in slope-intercept form. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the solve feature of our calculator. We're going to solve for y. And so you can see right here, that's a pretty complicated calculation, right? Okay, but that's the calculation that we want to enter. So again, let's kind of go through the steps to see how we would do this. Step 1, define. Okay, so that's the F4 tab, followed by, so when you look at F4 is the other tab, followed by define. So that's the first part of identifying our function. So F4, the other tab, hit define. Next, we're going to name our function. Okay, so this time, we're looking to find slope-intercept. Okay, so I'm just going to call this slope-int. Okay, again, it's descriptive enough to understand what it is. It's not going to coincide with any other commands on the calculator. So if I alpha lock my ti89, I can just start typing this in. So type in your words, slope int. Okay, for slope intercept, deselect the alpha lock key. Move to the next step, which is to identify the order of inputs. And so I'm going to use the same set of inputs, h1k1, h2k2. So I'm just going to input it in that same, the same form. So h1k1, h2k2. Okay, so right after my name, again, no spaces in the name, but right after my name, I'm going to input the order of my inputs. So h1, k1 followed by h2, k2. Okay, and my final step here is to write out the calculation. Okay, so that's going to be equals. You need to make sure you have the equal sign. And then we're going to type our calculation. Well, here's our calculation up here. That's not going to fit in this space, so I'm just going to write it down on the next line, but there's no, you don't hit line or don't, just continue from where we are in the calculator. So we're going to embed our solve feature, the function, right inside of this user-defined function. So we're going to solve the equation y minus k1 is equal to, take our slope, k1 minus k2 divided by parentheses h1 minus h2. And then we're going to multiply that by the quantity x minus h1. And then we're going to tell the calculator we wanted it to solve that for y. Okay, so if we type this whole thing, so I'll again repeat it. The solve feature is under the F2 algebra tab, so hit F2, I get solve, and then y minus k1 is equal to, in parentheses, k1 minus k2 divided by parentheses h1 minus h2, close the parentheses. We're then going to multiply this by the quantity x minus h1, and then comma y. That tells the calculator we're going to take that whole calculation, and all we want from it, we want it to put it in the form so that what y is equal to. So once we complete this and hit enter, you should get the instruction done, telling you that it finished, it computed this. So when I hit enter, I see that it says done. And so now once again I can go ahead and access this command. So I can either type it in, slope-int parentheses, or I can go to this varlink command, so second subtraction. Scroll down, again I'm going to go to t and then just move my way up, slope-intercept. And then in parentheses, type in the inputs in the order that you identified them. So we, again, typed it as one set of coordinates first. So I'll start with 5, 6 in looking at sample problem 23, and then followed by the other set of coordinates, -3, 2. Close it off. So 5, 6, -3, 2. And when I do this and hit enter, I should get my equation. And as you see right here, the equation in slope-intercept form is 1/2 x plus 7/2. And if you compare this to what we did for sample problem 23 by hand, you'll see that it's the same thing.